Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is our adventure project for Team Emerald. I'm your starting off level designer, Stephen Langley, and without further ado, let's get right on into it. Now starting out, you go into this tropical area that was here before we ever put our levels in. Now, after you go through this tropical area, you'll see that you start off with my level. Now this is an Asian themed campsite area that shows the shrine in the background, and I really wanted to bring the environment to play in this area. As you can tell that the leading lines are made out of the trail that goes and leads you to this spot of a torii gate that has these lights, and it kind of points the player to go this way. Now once you go up, you'll see these spikes that you need to jump over, and it kind of helps the player get used to jumping and stuff like that, along with these little highlighted ledges that tell the player that they need to grab on and climb up here. Once again, you see yourself on the torii gate to try to immerse the player in even more environment. Now, so you go up here and you jump right through the shrine area to get into these loft areas in the roof. When you jump down, you'll come up to this hallway that leads you to the worship area. Once in the worship area, you see these doors. Now you go up here, you'll notice that a door key is required. So you go and travel next to the palanquin and you'll see the chest. This chest has a key in it that will help get you through the place that you need. Stopping once again to see the environment that I painstakingly created just to show off a little bit is my next area, the Zen Garden area. Now in this area, I really wanted to make the player feel at home, so I gave a little spot to practice their sword techniques on a dummy and some bamboo. Even threw in a cherry tree, and heck, what place wouldn't be good enough without a bonsai tree? Now looking up, you see a bench with a climb up area, and you lead into this hidden forest. In this hidden forest, you can go to this chest, and the player will find a puzzle box. Now this puzzle box is just something that the player can collect just to have even more fun, but looking back, you see these rocks. These rocks are actually pointing up towards the highlighted climbable area, just to help point that player into the, to the way that they need to go. You'll see these stalagmites that's pointing you down to jump down on this ledge and into the first perilous part of this cave area. Now I wanted to give the player some, jumping skills because of what's to come in the next area after this cave. Now this cave area is more of an exploration place that I would like the player to get in touch with. I wanted to give it more of a dilapidation feel with the rocks and kind of a hidden mystique for the adventure area. Now moving up, you'll see these climbable ledges, and you can jump down over into this cave area. And as you move along, you'll jump from rock to rock. And notice that once before, when you jump up here, there's a hidden door. This door is shaped like rock, so it gives more of a feel, but once leaving out of that, it leads you to this area as a rest place. In this rest place, you can collect another chest box, but noticing more along the lines of the cherry tree pointing you the way down the mountain area. This mountain area is very perilous, and you will restart back up at the rest area if you fall. So moving along, it gets harder and harder for the player to jump from place to place. There's even times where I've messed up, even after designing it. So moving along, you get to the last jumpable area and you see the next level in line. Now, before you get there, you'll notice that this area is another rest area where you get to relax under a cherry tree that points the way along with the torii gate, showing you that this is the exit transition. Once in this exit transition, if you touch the water, you will be reset back to where you started from. But moving on is the next designer in line, Elliott Classen. Elliott, take it away.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this adventure level walkthrough. In this area, I wanted to highlight the rocks and the foliage and the waterfall area. I put a lot of work into making it look kind of seamless. Moving along here, another thing that I wanted to highlight was the lighting. The lighting actually is meant to give a good sense of direction when it comes to where the player needs to go. Moving into the bamboo kind of mini forest area, it's supposed to give a darker feel to the lighter contrast of the beach. Here you can see where the light kind of guides you exactly where you got to go, and just highlights the amount of damage that comes from the theme of the level, like the battle and the war kind of idea of what's supposed to be conveyed with my level. A lot of that stuff you'll see on the interior of my temple area, which you'll see now. So to further enhance that feeling of fear and dilapidation that kind of follows through with Steve's level, I decided to implement that kind of like almost reddish orange lighting to give a sense of like danger to the character moving along through the level, especially with the amount of damage done to the guardrails and staircase moving up in the temple library. So once you get past this dilapidated temple area, you're gonna reach a Zen garden. The Zen garden's not really supposed to give you the sense of danger or fear or any of that. It's supposed to be a sense of calming after enduring a visual kind of idea of danger. And moving ahead, now we're approaching our exit transition where we will be segueing into the next designer's level, Jordan Maysonet.
Thank you, Elliott. So, in my level start, as you see, the player starts in an unknown facility surrounded by different cells. Directly ahead of them, you see a door. You see another door that is also locked on your right. There's a key card that you need to grab from your security room directly ahead of that door. You grab the card, open the door. That staircase will lead you to the roof of the building. So as the player goes to the stairs to the roof, they will see a pipe. That pipe is sort of like a leading line to lead them to the forest. There are rocks in front of them that lead like leading lines or breadcrumbs to the rock wall, which they will find a ledge and climb so they can, climb the wall. As the player climbs the wall, they find themselves in front of a pond. They see a collectible on the left that catches their eye. So that, knowingly as a character, you grab it. And you see that there's a door inside of the temple that looks to be needed to be opened. As the player goes through the hallway, the staircase down to the catacombs area, they see another hallway that leads them to the next part of the level. So through this tunnel, the player will be led all the way to an abandoned airfield. I wanted to point out the fact that I wanted to have this airfield look abandoned, run down, look like a plane crashed. So we used plane wings to block off any outside, out of bounds playable areas. We see a broken plane here, a ledge from underneath the door that you can grab to climb over to go to the end transition of my level. But without further ado, I would love to introduce the next level designer, Braiden Smith.
As the player approaches the wall, they'll climb up over it and drop down into the beginning area of my level. And the feel I was going for is to have the player feel like they were alone in a mountainous environment. I'm proud of the level of detail that went into the environmental design here. Initially, my level was too large, and I took the playtest feedback of paying more attention to spatial identity to shrink the distances and add more obstacles for the player to traverse. There are some salvageable items here that the player can collect, and one of these items will open the first chest. This first area, plane crash, creates leading lines that lead the player into the next area by going up through the plane, across through the rock climb. The chest inside of this plane crash contains a key to the tower for later. I really wanted each area to contain an item that would be required for the player to progress to the next area. On the plane wing, I wanted the player to notice the water features that lead the player to the next area. I'm really especially proud of the waterfall here. I wanted it to look like it was rolling over the rocks and connect to the cliffs the player's getting ready to climb. In the rock cliffs, I really wanted it to feel like a cliffy mountain climb, so the amount of foliage here was decreased and the amount of rocks increased. This area was additionally decreased from the initial design to not overload the player with climbing, but to allow the player to experience the immersion of this rock climb without creating a boring, endless amount of jumping and climbing. Once the player gets to the top, the transition to the tower gives the player a break from all of the jumping. The radio tower here was designed to be more like an environmental data collection facility where a person would spend a great amount of time. And so once you enter the tower, you'll notice that it is filled with all the amenities a person would need to spend time in this location. This allows the an enhancement of player immersion. Inside the chest on the second floor is a gate key to get to the area behind the tower. And outside of this tower, there are blocking volumes to keep the player from progressing before going through the tower to get that key. This last little area has a shed with a hidden chest. Since it's not needed to progress the level, it was designed to be out of the way for the player. Once you obtain or skip this chest, the player then enters my exit transition. And this will lead the player into the level for the next designer. It is my pleasure to introduce Matthew Green.
Thank you. I'm Matthew Green, and the inspiration of my level was a set of ruins called the Ross Island Church. So as we approach the campsite here, we can see the axe in the stump creates leading lines guiding the player to the left, where the rocks in the wall as well as the breadcrumbs in the form of the stumps on the ground guide the player up and around to where they can see the focal point, just ahead, the ruins. Once down here, the player is guided by breadcrumbs in the form of these stepping stones, so that the player has the freedom to move around how they want while gently being guided to the ruins. Inside the ruins, the player can see a set of stairs leading down below the ruins, but they're blocked off by the collapsed roof. Boards from the collapsed roof create leading lines guiding the player up these stairs to a window where the player can see the end of the level. Turning around, the player is able to see a hole in the floor illuminated by the torches below. I tried to use the lighting creatively here to guide the player through the crypt, so I only lit the torch on the left to pull their attention in that direction. Now the player can follow the torches around to find the key and escape the ruins. As we cross the bridge ahead, we come to the part of the level I'm most proud of. It was suggested to me that I deny affordance to the player so they don't try to enter these homes, so I put boards over the doors and windows. And I created an opening in the fence here to attract the player's attention to bring them around. Now through here, I tried to use barrels and crates as well as some other objects as breakups to break up the repetitiveness of these houses. As we continue through here, we come through the exit transition of my level and enter the final part, the lodge. From all of Team Emerald, thank you for your time and have a nice day.